Hey everybody, welcome eventually to episode 7 of Around the Basket. I am Daryl, your lovely co-host, joined as always by Jeremy. How are you doing?
Well, I feel like I'm also a lovely co-host. Am I allowed to say that?
Oh yeah, I guess if one of us is the host and one of us is the co-host, or we both co-host?
We co-host together. We co-host each other somehow. I don't know.
Don't co-host
When
me.
does it get uncomfortable?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm starting to realize. Thank you for joining. You've obviously clicked on our Patreon. You've clicked on the link to get here, or you're watching it later on after the fact on YouTube, which is what other people can do as well. If you don't want to click on the link, if you don't want to have a free subscription to our Patreon page, because that's all it takes, you can watch this a few days later over on YouTube. But we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the chat here live. That's the benefit of being a part of our Patreon, is that we do a lot more interaction with our chat. Dylan's in the chat right now. How you doing, Dylan? Glad that you could join us.
Yeah, and he actually was just with us in our previous episode that we recorded, which was the interview with Brian Henniger from PDGA Canada.
Absolutely.
And that was awesome too. So go back, check that out as well.
Yeah. It's been a few weeks. We just had our Chain Out podcast episode, and it's been a few weeks since we've done it. We had the Christmas and New Year break. We've got all the holidays out of the way. We're back to being in person again.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
I'm excited for it too. And these episodes here, I think I'm realizing that it was like starting to podcast all over again. We were a little uncomfortable. We're trying to figure out where is this going. But every episode that happens, I'm feeling even more and more better about it. How about you? How are you feeling?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like the way it's going. I think we're starting to change things a little bit. We're starting to see where it's going. Pieces are falling into place.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of Patreon members, we're up to 13 Patreon members now. Dina's in the chat as well. Hi, Dina. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
Or good to see your, what is that? Do we say see you? I guess I can't see you, but I can see you're in the chat.
Yeah, I can see that you're in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
317 subscribers now on Jeremy.
Wow.
On YouTube.
317.
317.
Well, that's a goal for that's pretty awesome, hey, for our first year. When you think about it, I know if we were Mr. Beast or something, it would be a whole different story. But even Mr. Beast in his first year, he
had 300 at one point as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. He had to have 300 at some time. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're excited about that. We want to see what 2025 holds. And, as always, I know you guys already do it. Everybody, all the folks in our Patreon, help us spread the word. Ask your friends to subscribe or tell somebody, and maybe they'll find something funny and enjoy it, even if they're not a disc golfer. And if we're really lucky, maybe we can convert them and grow the sport.
Sam's in the chat as well. Hi, Sam. And Sam wants to say, I think he wants to echo everything that, everybody, if for some reason you're just watching this episode and you haven't checked out any of our other Chain Out podcasts, go and watch episode 60. If you're into Canadian disc golf, which is what we promote, episode 60 is a must-have. I think that's going to be, if you're going to tell people to go and watch Chain Out podcast,
don't tell them to watch episode 1, please.
Don't start with 1. I would say 60 is probably a good starting point. I can't even think of other episodes that stand out.
Oh, we can think of guests.
I know the guests.
Sure.
I know the
Tons
episodes.
Of guests.
I don't know the numbers, but
right.
Yeah, that was a great interview, Sam said. So yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Oh, for sure. Now, you guys, as we said, your Patreon members that are in the chat, we want you to interact, ask us questions, that kind of thing. One of the things tonight, we have Ryan Norquay lined up. He hasn't joined us just quite yet, so I might just get into my phone here and see if I can find a couple ways to try and get him on there. But we're going to continue with the show either way. And hopefully he joins because we have a lot of cool things that we want to talk about there.
Yeah.
So
I want to ask the chat while you go into your phone. I think most of the people in the chat now were watching the previous episode, the Chain Up podcast with Brian Henniger, episode 60. Go check it out. In the chat, what are your feelings on the fact that he kind of broke the news that the CDGT and Park Pro are not going to be recording coverage for next year? We know that we love watching their coverage. We've loved watching it for the last 2, maybe 3 years. The CDGT for the last 2 years, but they've done coverage of other events and they've put out great content. What does everybody think that going forward? Obviously, it's a tough ask to considering what they did last year, going in from BC to the Yukon to
PEI
to and anywhere and everywhere in between. It's a hard undertaking for two people. Feel like, there's a part of me. We obviously spoke to Matt.
Yeah, we chat with Matt and with Andre.
Yeah.
We kind of reach out to them. It's one of those things as part of being into this media side of disc golf that we try to reach out to some of the other players there and have conversations and that. And we had a real kind of good eye-opener one with Matt to understand how much it was. Like we thought, okay, you guys are going out there and you're recording these tournaments, but it's not just the recording. It's the recording, it's the editing, it's the travel, it's, and we really experienced that a little bit with our 8 tournament tour we did last year. And then a couple of them, we tried to do some live content. So we were doing little bits and pieces, but imagine doing a whole tournament and filming it and then having to edit it and get it out. And
I have more experience of editing than you.
Yes.
And I'm thinking just for the little videos that I do, I mean, we did the Rundle Park walkthrough,
right?
Which was very basic editing, very basic,
graphics and stuff.
Film,
right?
Content that we actually filmed. We filmed it all in a day, even in a couple of hours. I think, it was just a walk around. We filmed it. We got the basics, edited it, and it still took me like a week or so just to edit that little video, let alone the quality that they edit.
Oh yeah. And that's what I was saying, all the graphics
they
they do. And they've got you had this as well. I know in our video is also remembering to capture the B-roll. So it's not just straight, there's another guy throwing, You get the scenery, you always say to me, what's the story? And they definitely succeed in putting together stories. It's not just here's a guy disc golfing. There's a story behind what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's the whole event, right? Yeah. A lot of people in the chat. It's sad to hear, but not surprised.
Yeah. Well, and I guess maybe I
always just feel like there's got to be something that we can do, or someone that something can do. Like, I know Jomez took off. I watched them when they first started. Excuse me. They were going to every event. They hired cameramen to go around. Like, what were they doing to fund it? Were they getting sponsorships? Were they getting anything from the Pro Tour at that point? They probably weren't. They were just putting it out there, knowing that you got to put the content out there and you got to be consistent, because eventually you'll get those subscribers and then you'll get the balance, right? But it's hard to get over that peak when you're not getting paid and you got the family, and
everything else. And we've heard that before too, is that a lot of times, it's who's going to stick with it the longest, but sometimes you have to have the right work-life balance. And we've realized that as well. It's like the work-life play. If it gets out of balance, it doesn't work. So hopefully they can figure it out. Matt and Andre, if you're listening, you got our support. So if there's anything we can do to help you guys, we just love what you do and we want to see more of it. And that was one of the things we were going to talk to Ryan about, if he was able to join us, right? Was the LTL coverage is one of the things that had recently come out. And it's really interesting to me, Daryl, is looking back at our episodes when we did those A-tier recaps, and we would chat with the tournament director as well as the MPO and FPO winners, and they'd give us a really good synopsis of what happened, and they'd try to paint a picture for us and give us a feel for what some of the holes and some of the things happened. But let's say TCO, Thomas told us about the ace he got. Right. But then watching the ace that he got, like there's something so much different that when that coverage comes out and we get a chance to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Words can only go so far. Yeah, actually seeing it is a different story.
And I guess too is how many people out there and who are listening tonight, have you watched any of the Park Pro coverage from this year yet? Because right now what's out, and I'll tell you where I'm at, is I've watched all of TCO, I've watched all of BCO, I've watched all of LTL, and I'm just getting to I've just started the third round of the Manitoba Provincial. So that's where they talked about Stony Mountain.
Right.
And I'm not this is no spoiler or anything.
Yeah.
But it's an old rock quarry.
Right.
Like Fred Flintstone could be playing disc golf at this place. That's what it looks like. So, and it's not, none of these ones are very short holes or anything like that too. It looks like quite the challenge.
I haven't started the Manitoba Provincials yet, so I'm excited to watch that one.
Yeah. And when we were going to talk to Ryan, we did want to mention a little bit about the LTL. Now that we've both watched that, and I don't know. How do we bring this up? How do we approach it?
How does it look like Ryan's going to be joining us?
At this point, I don't see him responding, so I think we just start going
Okay.
and continuing on with it. But
So no spoilers, but if you haven't watched the LTL, the larger than life coverage that Park Pro put out from Yukon, definitely go and watch it.
or listen to our episode that we did on the A tier recap.
Well,
of it.
yeah, go back and catch up on that as well.
Maybe do them side by side.
Yeah, play a hole and then pause it and
Listen to a little of the interview.
yeah, exactly. Then carry back on. Yeah, no, it's, you know, and that's the thing, and this is the thing that we wanted to do, and the definitely the fantasy episodes were a big part of that. Is we wanted to get Canadian disc golfers' names into people's heads. We wanted them to be just as commonplace as Paul Macbeth and what's that Simon guy?
Simon Lizo or
Lizo, yeah.
Lizote?
But going through the A tiers, we've seen a few names that would crop up again and again, right? And then we've seen this guy called Luc Levesque.
Yes.
He went to I think he got second or third at BC Open.
Yeah.
And then we seen that he was heading to LTL straight afterwards. I think he was on.
He was one of our first picks. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
no,
we knew with what he had been doing already, even though that was just the start of the year.
Yeah.
That he was poised, and we thought, oh, okay, well, this is a new tournament. He's going up to Whitehorse. How good are the locals up there?
Right.
He's just going to come in and
Yeah.
rock them, is what we figured.
And he must have gone up there with like a bee in his bonnet, because he came out of the doors gung ho. He was
Yes.
leading straight from round one. I think round one, I can't remember exactly, but I know going
7
into
strokes or something like
I know
that,
it was
yeah.
going into round 3. He was 7 strokes ahead of Eden Badahos, who, no spoiler, but we had him on the
On the show, so if
So-
he was on the recap, it tells you something, right?
Yeah, but you had watched it first, and obviously we had interviewed Eden and Ryan, and they
And
kind of
Christy,
told
yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They kind of told us the story of what happened, and then you text me and you're like, "Have you watched round 3 yet?" I'm like, "I'm gonna watch it right now." You're like, "Okay, get ready for a rocky
Yeah,
final
Get your
ending.
tissues out, pretty
Yeah.
much is what it was.
So I watched the front 9, and I'm like, Luke's got a 6-shot lead. Like, what's going on here? And then go on a little bit further. Ryan's up to a 7-shot lead.
Right.
Like, what's on here, Jeremy? Hole 13, hole 14, hole 15, hole 16. And I'm like, did I remember this correctly? Because I think something happened. Mm-hmm. And then we get to hole 17.
Hole 17.
Yeah.
He had it for
I
how
think he
many
had
holes is that?
I think he had a 6-shot lead going into hole 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you've watched the coverage, even if you watch round 1, when you get to hole 17, Andre or Matt does a great job of zooming in on this sign that's the first available off the tee pad. Mm-hmm. It's a picture of the Mad magazine.
Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah, if you know who that character is, there's a picture of him with the words written underneath it that say, "Hit me." Mm-hmm. Nobody hit it round 1. Nobody hit it round 2.
And if anything, Luke laced his shots both rounds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Coming into round 3, he released it late. I don't know, did he have anything that happened on hole 16 that might have threw him off a little bit?
There were a couple little things, and you guys can watch it and see, but
Yeah.
it was his game. There was
It was
a
a
couple
little bit
chinks
cheeky.
in the armor is what there
exactly. Coming into 17, he released it late into the hit me tree, kicked right into the bit
were. Right beside it, right?
Yeah, a little bit to the right, not on the fairway, but right into the right, into the trees, into the woods. And then he threw a second shot, and
I think
seemed like it didn't seem like he took his composure. It didn't take some time. He threw the disc. He hit another tree. To cut a long story short, he took a quad bogey on that hole.
Yeah.
Eden, I think, birdied the hole, and I think it was Ryan or Luke was up by 1.
Yes.
Going into hole 18. But because Eden won that hole, or, had the lowest score on 17, he threw first on 18. And 18 is an iconic hole.
Oh,
like they talk
such a
about, not landmark holes. but signature holes. Definitely 18 was a signature hole of this course. A massive, I think it was like 500 feet par 3.
Oh, it was far down.
It was so far, but it was all downhill.
Yeah.
And Eden stepped up, and to his credit, he threw his drive, and it looked a bit low. If you've watched the other coverage, everybody was throwing high, and he threw this one. He threw it low, and you thought, that's slow. That doesn't have a chance.
It's going in the trees.
Yeah, it's going to hit the clip of the trees. But then you see a little bit of a wind lift, and then it drops down. Then there's another bit of a wind lift, and it just keeps on gliding, and it keeps fading. And then it's pretty much parked like 15 feet from the basket.
Yeah.
So then Luke has to step up and follow that.
And he's got a crowd around him. There's a crowd. You can see the crowd standing around the basket. You can see the crowd behind the tee box as well, right?
Yeah.
So
he steps up there. I don't know what disc it was, but he takes it, and he just turned it over, and it was going to the right, and it was never coming back.
No.
He ended up in the woods. He tried gallantly a thumber over the top of the trees, I think, or some shot to get over the top of the trees to get anywhere near the basket, because he knows that at that point he has to throw that in.
I think he had to par, right, is what he had to do.
He had to par to force a playoff.
To force a playoff,
yeah. So he had to throw that in to keep his win, to keep the lead. So he throws it, and it goes up, and it clips the trees, and it falls down. And then he lays up, or he goes for it again to try and salvage that par. He misses the basket. He taps in for his bogey.
Yeah.
Eden taps in for birdie and ends up winning it.
Yes. And it was heartbreaking.
Like
right?
Sam said in the chat here, those last few holes were actually hurt. It actually hurt to watch.
Well,
and from someone who threw a 17 on a hole, 15 on a hole, whatever, I don't even remember
17. I know.
We were talking, it didn't look like he took any time. But, I mean, obviously, editing can speed things up, but it seemed like he didn't take any time on 17 when he was in the woods. It looked like he was grabbing his disc, and he just knew that I just have to get it out. I just have to get it out. And he didn't take his time, didn't have that... I don't want to say he didn't have composure, because obviously if I was in that situation, maybe I would throw a 17.
Right.
But he just couldn't get it out of the... he didn't take that time to settle.
Yeah. Well, and that was the one thing that kind of came to my mind after we did the... when we did the A-tier recap and we talked to Eden, and of course we're only going by what the PDGA scorecard said. That's what we can see at that point. And we're talking with him, and it looked like there was that. And we try to be as sensitive as we can to the situation. But props to Eden for being gracious about it and that. Because I'm thinking, like, it was tough for Luke, and he came back the rest of the season, and he was learning and getting better.
Yeah.
And that's like... The one thing about all of those moments is that that's what you can either buckle and throw your discs in the garbage and never play the sport again, or you can show up the next tournament and try to do better. And that's what Luke did all year. And that's why I think this year, as much as that was hard to watch, that's probably got to be one of those staple moments, or what do you want to call it? Like the TSN turning points for a person. Right. Like he's going to be awesome this year.
Yeah.
But anyways, my point is that Eden was very gracious about it, because as much as Eden took that win because he played well and he played consistent and played solid, he knew he had a bit of an assist, I think. Right, in the win. Yeah.
So, with that being kind of the topic there, we were going to speak to Ryan about that. It kind of leads us on to the conversation that we were going to have with Ryan. I don't think we're going to get Ryan on here, so we'll throw it out to you. We'll throw it out to the chat.
Yeah, we want you guys. You know what? You guys are now the special guest for tonight.
Yeah.
So get in there, start chiming in. Daryl, you're going to watch the comments, right, and pop things in and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the first topic, or do you want to stick with the other one?
No, we can start right there.
Okay.
I'm going to put a question out, and then you can take it over, right? I'll put it out to the chat, and you can carry on. Then I want some feedback from the chat.
Right.
How difficult should tournament courses be, and how should it be decided?
Right. So the thought process when we were going to have this one in this conversation here was that we've heard this on a number of courses. As you step up to hole one, and it's almost like the tournament director said, "Thanks for coming. I'm going to see if I can kick your ass."
I'm going to humble you.
Exactly. So
you think you're good?
Yeah, you think you're good. Let's see how you do with this par 4 that's either too long or full of OB or very punishing. It's going to roll away, and let's see how you do. Now, the question to me was watching the holes that the guys were throwing and how difficult they were.
With the camera.
And and hitting the trees and everything else like that is Is that good for disc golf? Is that what we want? Do we really want a course that's so difficult that you're watching people fall apart on the course?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not picking on Luke here on this one. This is more just in general. This is you taking a 17. This is me on the par 5 at Aspen Meadows getting stuck in the tree and just throwing it into the tree 2-3 times and taking a snowman or a 9 or whatever I did.
Yeah.
It's should it be that difficult? Should that be part of the game? What do you think? I guess I'm just throwing the take right back at you, but that's just a little bit more flavor for you.
No, exactly. And I think it's hard because you've got so many different levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got so many different divisions. We've got MA, FA1, MA2, MA3, and we've seen MA4 in a lot of tournaments that we've been in. How can you make a course that's playable for an MA4, but also playable for an MPO?
Right.
Or an FA4, or an MJ12, and an MPO?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make you've got to make it, it's got to be the same course for everybody, but there has to be some concessions, and different tee pads is one way to do it.
Yes. I think different tee pads, when you do it, you've got to be better than what we've seen in some cases where this tee pad, the difficult tee pad is at the back, walk up 25 feet.
Yeah.
There's the easier tee pad. Like that, you can actually create 2 courses if you correctly move the tee pads, and then you can make an easier shot versus a harder shot. So
I'm thinking that at Aspen Meadows, that par 5 that you're talking about, I believe it's hole 11. No,
Yeah.
hole 12. Hole 12 is the long par 5 at Aspen Meadows, right?
Okay,
That's the one
11,
you're talking
12,
about?
but yeah.
Yeah. Where the MA40s and the MPOs were teeing off
was the same.
Yeah. It was the same tee pad. It was probably 200 to 250.
It was
feet
the size of a hole of a short par 3,
right?
Just to
in a straight line before you dog-legged right and then went 400 or 500 feet that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the amateur ladies tees, red tees, whatever,
the forward
tees, whatever we want to call them, they were at the corner, so they eliminated 250 to 300 feet off that hole from that.
And not having a Mando either.
Not having a
Mando.
Mando. And not having the dog leg and everything to go with it. So that's not just a case of, okay, 20 feet forward, we'll put another tee pad. Like, they actually thought about that and made that hole more accessible, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
But then, like we've always said, once you get to that corner, the rest of the hole then, they have to play the same course as us.
That's right.
Or as MPOs or as everybody else.
Yeah. And it was as much as it looked like it was fairly open because it was downhill, because there were other factors in play. What looked like a wide fairway was not very wide.
No. So Dylan in the chat here, he's saying 7 out of 10 for difficulty. I like trees. Overuse of OB can be a bigger impact, but enjoyment for me goes down, which is a fair point.
Yes, and that's what I see. And I guess there is the difference between a tournament and a casual round.
Right.
So does a casual round, should that set up for the course be fun and enjoyable? We'd all agree that it probably should. But when you get to a tournament, should a tournament be about punishment and difficulty, or should it be about challenge?
I forget which course it was, but when we spoke to Martin Hendel, and I asked him about forced OB.
Right.
And I said, so we noticed on this course there's a lot of painted OB, there's a lot of forced OB on these holes to make it harder. Do you like that? And I was honestly expecting him to say, no, I don't like forced OB.
Yeah.
But his answer was, yeah, I like it because it forces you to throw that good shot. So
you get that sense of satisfaction maybe when you do it?
Yeah,
or?
like I guess at the top level, it really separates the people that can throw that shot and can stick the green to the people that just throw a semi-okay shot and get lucky because they've got a wider landing area. So forced OB can have its place, I guess. But again, when the main question there was how difficult should a tournament course be, which level are we looking at? Are we looking at MPOs? Like, how difficult should it be for them?
Right.
Or how difficult should it be for the normal people?
Well, I think what it is that at every level, it should be at the difficulty for that division. Now, inside a division, as we see with MA40, for example, there is quite the spread. You have everybody from MA1 players through to MA4 players in that division. But if we were to look at an MA4 division, the course should be the same 7 out of 10, if we're going to use that, as Dylan's pointed out, difficulty for the MA4s, and the same 7 out of 10, like an equivalent 7 out of 10 for the MPOs. So that's where it should be. It would be the argument to it. And I guess the way we could word that is, if I want to go over to the MPO side, is like, do you make a course difficult enough for the top players? So you want to see Kristen Latt, or you want to see Gannon Burr shoot just around par. You want it that difficult that they're maybe scraping a birdie. But what does that do to the rest of the field?
Yeah.
Or do you take, like when I was looking at the Pro Tour points from last year, the people who are playing regularly, you have like Shelly May Lai, for example, on the FPO side. She was 60th out of 150. Emily Beach, 56 out of 150. Silas Schultz, 71. And AJ Carey. Do you more target them? Now that's the halfway point. Or do you find, as Dylan's saying, the 7 out of 10 point, and that's, you want them to be able to hit par, and that means that the really good people are going to maybe eat the course up, but that's the right challenge. What do you think?
That's it. I mean, if we're just looking at MPOs or FPOs, we're just looking at professionals.
And we can filter it down.
Well, because I think there's different ways to look at it, and I was going to get to a point in a second, but to answer that,
okay,
on that side of it, where do you set the par? Where do you expect the players to be? I think you probably have to have it that Gannon and Kristen and, those type of people are barely getting under par.
Barely getting under par? That's what you think?
I think that to be at the top of the game, they need to be shooting on a course. I think they should be shooting, if they played really well, they should be shooting at maybe -4 at best.
Really?
That's what I think.
Okay. And then how do you propose to do that then?
Well, you just make the courses harder.
Right. But what? Okay.
We're not talking about how to make the courses harder.
Oh, I got that in here too. I thought we could touch on that a little bit, but...
Because I think, okay, and it might suck for everybody else. Like you say, the people there, they're coming in mid-pack. They're obviously going to be finishing their rounds +5, +6, +10, whatever it might be. I don't know. I guess I guess it doesn't really matter what the score is, because if Gannon wins at -4 and Silas Schultz, because you mentioned him there, finishes 71st, but he finishes at +12, or Gannon finishes at -15 and Silas finishes at +2, he's still finishing 71st.
Right.
So really, the positioning doesn't change. It just depends whether you want someone to win a tournament with -20 or -3 or even. So the scoring, the par-wise, I don't think the final score doesn't make a difference. Is that just comes down to, do we want to see somebody eat up a course and birdie every hole, or do we want to see somebody struggle and get pars? They're still going to win because they're going to be playing better.
Well, and the argument maybe to where you're saying to have it more difficult is you'll actually see a spread, right? Because using our new favorite term, if you're going to have a tournament with the pros at a local dink and dunk, then if all of them can birdie every hole, where's the score separation? Right? Like
exactly.
That would be the thing. So there is something to go that direction and say it can't be too easy, but then it's like, well, why don't we just film Gannon playing by himself if he's the only one who can play the course and nobody else can play it?
Yeah, I think that comes down to why is Gannon gonna destroy that course? Because he can throw really far,
right?
Because you know that Isaac plays really well in the woods. Chris Dickerson used to play really well in the woods. So yes, Gannon's gonna destroy a wide open course which I think we see a lot of on the Pro Tour, and I think that's why he's so prevalent or popular, or he wins a lot, is because these courses are built for Gannon to throw. He can throw his big 400, 500 foot hyzers.
He can break the course.
Yeah, he can break the course. You put him in a more technical course, I don't think he does as good. And I think other people, so you got to make an even playing field, and the best person wins.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Not trying to be like utopian.
No.
Like the best person wins. Yeah. Obviously, if you play the best, you're going to win.
Well, and if it comes down to it as well, like when I did some research kind of for this question, I know that we are not ball golf, but it's something that's the closest type sport to what we do. And when you look at them, at their setup, one of the things I saw was as of April 15th of 2024, the average score of the Pro Tour on a course was 71.43. And if you don't know, the par on a ball golf course is 72. So they actually would be supporting that idea, is that the course is difficult enough that players on average are scoring just below par. So that means you're going to have some people well above it, some people well below it, but you're getting really close to that par.
And I think that's
Is that the goal? Is that what we should be trying to achieve?
I think that's the definition of par.
Yes. So we're nowhere near it at this point in disc golf. Well, you and I maybe, but I'm thinking at a pro level.
Yeah.
Because
that's an interesting question then, because obviously we've spoken to Tim from Edmonton Disc Golf Association when he was president, and we know these facts, and I'm sure it's not only Edmonton, but the majority of people that play these local dink and dunk courses, that phrase is not going away.
We're glad you like it.
Don't use U-disc, so those rounds are not recorded. But I would like to know if there's any way that we can do this, and maybe if you're a numbers guy, you can do this, or maybe Dylan can write a program to take the U-disc results or the rounds from Rundle, and from Baker Park, and from Hope Goat. All the rounds that are recorded, whether it be, whatever skill level, and average them out and see what the average, because obviously, like you said, you're going to get, Casey is going to be playing the local course that he plays in Cranbrook, and I forget what it's called.
You know what? I don't need to worry because Sam's going to jump on it. It's not N-Twizzle, that's a place, but it's,
Yeah, so he plays that course a lot. You're going to get somebody that plays Hope Goat quite a lot. They're going to be playing those courses. They're going to know the lines. They're going to know the secret lines and all that sort of thing. So they're going to be low. But you're also going to get a load of amateurs playing these courses, and their scores are going to be high. So is there a balance? Is it, if you looked at all the people that played around at Rundle Park in 2024, averaged them all out, what would the average score come out to be?
Well, here's what I would say to that, is that you're now saying the full skill level from a beginner coming out with their basic Frisbees. Well, they're probably not using U-disc, but maybe they are.
Right.
To the pro, where we're saying in the section of pro. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's above par, but I don't know that's a good indication of the difficulty of the course. Because when Dylan goes out there and shoots a -12, right? And then when me and Sam go out there and we're fighting to get to even. So there's a difference that way. Like that's a better...
But that would be my...
That's a better... You have to tighten up the sample, I think. You can't just use every round that's played there.
Maybe.
So that's my...
Well, I would like to use every round just to find out what the average...
Sure. Well, and maybe you'd find it's like +10. Who knows?
It could be.
Yeah, because there's a lot. And there's so many non-recorded rounds there, but I guess maybe those are the players that wouldn't normally even keep score.
You're going to touch on this in a little bit, but I want to bring it up because it resonated to me on making the courses difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And we spoke about this earlier. Now, for people that haven't played in Edmonton, there's a local course called Hermitage. On one of the holes, it's not a hard course. It's a very beginner friendly course.
Yeah.
One of the holes, there are 2 tee pads. Hole number 8 in a tournament, and I think even on U-disc, when you play from the forward tees, it's a par 4. But when you play from the rear tees, it's a par 3.
Right.
So if you were to count the score, like if you were to count even on both of them, the blue tees would have +1 on the par because every other hole it's a 3 and a 3 and a 4 and a 4 and a 3 and a 3. But this one actually has a par separation.
Yes, it does.
So let's take another hole. If you take your local par 4 that you might be able to reach, when you make it a tournament, you make that a par 3 from the pro tees, and you make it a par 4 from the red tees. So you're making it harder because you're giving them one less shot.
Right.
So you're not designing the course to be any different. You can't really design a course, apart from adding OB and things like that. But it's going to be hard on the local dink and dunks because there's so many par 3s.
Yes.
You can't then make that a par 2.
2s.
No.
Right.
So on the longer courses, hole 4 is like that as well, when the basket's in the short and long position.
At Hermitage. Yeah.
At Hermitage, yeah. Dylan says in the chat. Maybe, Hermitage is a little bit of a worse example because it is that beginner-friendly course. But if you take somewhere like Bailey's, which is a privately owned course in Edmonton, or Wildman, or any of these courses that are being used on the Canadian Tour, as it stands, and the tee sign will say that this is a par 4, but on tournament day, that becomes a par 3. So let's go back to Aspen Meadows. That par 5 becomes a par 4 for the pros from the long tees.
Yeah. Well, and you know what?
Because a lot of pros would struggle to get there in 4.
Well, and we watched, like, Casey was one of the ones who birdied it, and he was getting there, and we were joking with him. I think when we talked to him, we were like, do you got any tips for how to do that? Because it took me 2 shots just to get to the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. His was like, oh yeah, I just aimed to land right on the
just a forehand shot.
Forehand just to land just past the Mando, and then throw something straight down the middle of the fairway, and then from there you just lay it up onto the green, and then you tap in your birdie. Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Perfect.
But
got it.
Taking it down to a 4, is that not, because that would then, you would be, I don't know if it would be making it any less. I guess that doesn't really fix the course difficulty now thinking about it. All it does is it just makes their score less. But so instead of winning by minus 10, it would be minus 9 or minus 8. They would still be winning, but they would just be taking a par instead of a birdie, or a bogey instead of a par.
Well, and I look at it from that respect. There is maybe that, like you said, is you're not really changing a whole lot in that way, but what you're doing is you're making the scores seem a little more reasonable. But there's something about it, and I can tell you, is that if you go out there to a course, and if it's a par 4, and you can get to it in par or birdie it, how do you feel after that hole? You feel pretty good.
I was just going to bring that up. Good point, Jeremy.
But if it's a par 3 and it's that exact same hole, and now you get a 4, now you've bogeyed. Now if you get a 5, where are you feeling?
Exactly.
Where are you going into the next hole? So I think that's a way to go maybe onto the mental game is what that is, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Just because you make the hole one stroke harder, you said, you might have been able to birdie it before, but now you're parring it.
If you're lucky.
You parred it before, now you're bogeying it. And it's very easy to come out with a double bogey, whereas a double bogey is harder to take than a bogey.
Yeah.
Or mentally.
Okay, I'm going to throw one out here just to get everybody all riled up. And here's my thought. So if you wanted to do what you were saying, yes, we cannot put par 2s on the course.
Right.
But let's say like a regular par at a disc golf course is about 63. What if we had something... this is the thing when I have these ideas, I don't even want to speak them out loud. But if it was a par 63, what if you said nothing changes on the holes? So, a person birdies a hole, they birdie a hole, whatever. But you turn the course into a par. So it's actually the course itself is a par 52. And that's what you're trying to put into the player's mind. So if you want to say that you parred this course, you need to score a 52. How do you do it? You're going to need to get some birdies, obviously. But I don't know what hole you're getting on because it's not a par 2, they're par 3s. I don't know if you get where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going. So you want to say at the end of it, you parred the course. How did you get that? So you must have birdied 18 then. No, I parred 18, but luckily I birdied 17.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter where you birdied them over the whole of the course.
You had to get this score to be par at a pro level.
Yeah.
As opposed to every one of us also going out and doing just regular par. What do you think of that? You like it? Oh, you do? You love it?
Your opinion, but you're wrong.
It was about time you brought that one out.
Yeah. I know. I get what you're saying.
I don't think it's a great idea now that I've spoken it up. We don't need to discuss it further.
Okay.
But maybe
I did want to just go back to the chat because there's a few comments that I missed here. Sam said, I think the problem you run into with technical courses that provide score separation naturally, they're not good for crowds to chase and follow cards.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is a good point.
Yeah. Well, you know,
I'm just trying to think. I know it's a different sport, but how is bowl golf? How do you get hard courses and bad courses or easy courses? They're shorter. And the greens are easier.
Their greens are harder, right? Like that's what they do is no, their greens aren't easy.
No, in bowl golf, if you make an easy course,
it's
shorter and the greens are easier.
And the greens are easier.
You make a hard bowl golf course, it's longer. There's more water. There's more OB. The greens are not flat. They're not.
They're fast as well. They can make them quicker, right? So, but we can't really do that part about it, and that's been a conversation. Even recently here, I don't know if you guys have listened to Tour Life right now, but Yuli and Brody were kind of talking about the same thing because there was the discussion of whether was it with jump putting, if they should push that instead of jump putting be allowed at outside of 30 feet,
right?
Or 30.
There is
33 feet. Sorry.
Is that what makes a course hard? If you said, okay, now you have to putt from a certain range, because I think that's Brody's argument is that anything from 20 to 30 feet is a guarantee. So as long as you can land within 20 to 30 feet of the basket,
for a pro,
obviously, they're making that putt. So how do you stop them from making that putt? Do you protect the basket anymore? Do you put it in more into woods? But then, I don't know.
Okay, my last thing I was going to ask you, and this kind of just fits in with all of this when I was doing that research on ball golf.
Sorry.
Yeah, jump in.
Dylan just said, I think he said he thinks it would be higher than you think for my taking the average of everybody. He thinks it would be a higher average than par, which I think it probably would be. But
that's just because there's so many beginners compared to the people who stick with it and get quite good at it.
There's a course in Red Deer, Sam says, that has a couple of par twos according to the course signage.
That's awesome.
Dylan said he likes it, but I don't know what comment he likes.
He probably just likes, hopefully he just likes our conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe likes something else about it. But the other one I was going to say to you, and this just fits into the course difficulty, is there also a place where there should be some course consistency? So, and what I mean by that is when a ball golf course is designed, it has 4 par 5s, 10 par 4s, and 4 par 3s. And the reason I say that is because what it does is it starts to give that consistency of this is how we get to a 72, and we're going to change things. We're going to change the green. We're going to change these different aspects about it, but the composition of the course and how you're going to get to par, because if par is always the same number, things start to get a little easier to measure, and they start to get a little easier to prove your worth and that type of thing on a course, right? Like, is it a hard 72 or an easy 72? But it's 72. It's always 72.
Right.
So
Dylan likes your idea of a score of 52.
Oh,
like
nice. Yes.
It wasn't that bad of an idea.
Well, I guess it's, as he says, your own journey. It's almost like when you think back to it, Dylan, to the choose your own adventure books, right? It's like your goal is to get to here. How are you going to do it? There might be 2 or 3 ways, but if you take the wrong turn, you're not getting to 52.
But isn't that kind of how it is right now? Like I could shoot -2 on a course, and you could shoot -2 on a course, but it doesn't mean that we birdied and parred the same holes.
Right.
So that is kind of how it is. You could say, oh, how did you score? Oh, -2. Oh, I did too. Oh, did you take a 3? Because we did that the other day at Hermitage.
Yeah.
We both ended up with -2, I think it was. You had a lot more birdies, but you also had a quad bogey or whatever it was on Wally's Way.
Well,
whereas I played quite clean and had 2 birdies and a lot of pars.
Well, that happens that way, but I guess where we were trying to go when we were saying the difficulty and when we would try to up it as a level to the pros, and how do you know you're a pro? It's like, when can you hit pro par? Because if you were like, oh no, I'm a pro, I got -3 on this course, I was better than par. Well, that's great because you got -3. But the pro par on that course, if you want to call yourself a pro, because it's not a 72 and you just get 72, you're a pro. So many people in disc golf can actually shoot under par on a lot of courses. So if you really want to prove you're a pro, that course has a pro par. I got support from Dylan. Give me the round of applause. Mic drop.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really understanding exactly what you're saying, because to me, it's like you're almost taking away the difficulty of the course by saying, what did you score over the whole course?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting it.
Well,
Okay,
it's all
what was
good.
the other thing that you wanted to bring up?
I think that was the most of the things that
Oh, the
I had.
consistency. I mean, with the consistency
Oh yeah,
of
of the setup of the course.
you know, that comes down to a lot of ball golf courses are private. And they have the land and they plan everything out and they can plan them and manipulate.
And they've
the
got the
ground.
money.
Yeah, they can manipulate the area to accommodate 4 par 5s, 10 par 4s.
Maybe that's how
And
you
4 par 3s.
get a pro tour course. That's, that would have been a stipulation, is that, you want to be part of the pro tour on top of having to give $30,000 cash to the event, on top of this and that. Your course has to be set up with this type of one and this type of score. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send. Yeah, I just see Dylan's comment there.
Yeah.
Says a course like the Hills would be a par of 40, a pro par of 40. Yeah. What, you didn't get a hole in one in your round? Well, I guess you didn't get pro par.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Maybe that's going to be, what do we got? We got Muskoka layup. We got Dink and Dunk. We got Gaga Crazy.
Got crazy. Yeah.
And now we've got pro par. Jeremy's pro par. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Do you remember?
We're moving on to mental strength.
Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, man, this is a good time. What a segue. I didn't even know I was doing it.
There you go. So, like we said in the recap there, when Luke, there was a few chinks in his armor on 16, but on 17, really, when he hit the first tree, went into the woods right beside the, yeah. Maybe one day, Dylan, we'll get all these things on merch. And they'll be available. He hit the first tree, landed by the first tree, threw it again, hit some more wood in the off the fairway. He couldn't. I think he took 2 or 3 shots just to get back out into the fairway. Then he had an upshot that I think hit another tree, or he missed the basket and he rolled long. Then he missed the basket. It seemed fairly quickly that he threw these shots. Now, regardless of people's talent, how does something like that affect you mentally? And right. I can for one say, when I was watching it, and I know Sam said the thing, that it really hurt.
It did. Like, I felt for him. I just
felt so bad. And I really, I know you felt bad, but Jeremy, but like,
you felt worse?
I could really understand where he was coming from.
Oh, yes. You might have been there, done that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. But it did seem like, and you mentioned this, that he didn't take time to reset himself.
Right.
Now, when you throw a disc and it lands 5 feet in front of you, it doesn't take you long to walk to that disc.
And you're up again.
You're up again. Then you've only got 30 seconds to take your throw. So really, from you throwing a bad shot into a tree to taking your next shot could be 45 seconds to a minute.
At most.
Yeah. So how do you even have time to reset after that? Like, is that just it has to be one of those things that sets you apart from a pro to an amateur, is that if you have a bad shot, you need to be able to flick a switch and just ignore it, forget about it, and treat the next shot as different, which is easier said than done.
Well, they say a lot of times that sports is, 90% mental, right? 10%. Yeah. When it gets to the upper levels, everybody's playing with the same toolbox skill-wise, right? They're all able to throw 450 feet. They're all able to put a disc, give or take, on the angle and the line and everything else that they want. So then it comes to the mental part, and there's that part of the game. Now, my question is, we have the idea of how do we kind of improve the mental side of our game, but as you're saying, should we be giving players more time for that? Now, we obviously know that there's a problem on the pro side, and even in the tournaments we play, we don't need to keep this on pro. I know, Dylan, Dina, Sam, tournaments you've been at, there's long players. There's been that for us as well. But if somebody goes and hits that tree and they're up again, I'm going to say I think there should be the allowance for a timeout for every player in or around. They don't have to take it, but to be able to take it for that moment and to reset themselves. What's your thought on that?
I 100% agree. I don't have an agree button? No, we need to make one of those.
Does it make you go gaga crazy?
And I think we're getting the comments now coming in is totally agreeing as well. And it's kind of exactly what I was going to echo. Dylan said, sorry, I missed his first comment. He wishes you could take a longer break between shanks.
Yes, not shots, shanks.
No, yeah, and then, but instead you're rushing to try and get it before somebody else's turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam kind of put a comment in as well: 2 timeouts per round, extra minute or something. And then Dylan's like, "Yeah, I'd like a timeout. Love it, Sam." And that's exactly what we discussed before. Is that maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe it's one for the front 9, one for the back 9. Mm-hmm. So you don't get 2 per round. You get 1 for the front 9, 1 for the back 9. If you don't use your one on the front 9, you've lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I think you could get.
You don't want everybody using their timeout because that's just going to drag everything out. So it should be if you need it.
I think there could be a situation where people save their timeouts. They're on the 18th green. And they're just playing that mind game. It's like timeouts in football, right? I don't think that should be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But old Dina's just put in the chat here as well that she liked that proposed timeout rule out. I liked that proposed timeout rule the PDGA was talking about last year.
Oh.
So I didn't hear about that.
Okay, so it was something that has been discussed.
Yeah. I think if you had 1 for the front 9, 1 for the back 9, because you don't want to get into a head game thing against your opponent, but an extra minute, extra 30 seconds, minute and a half, maybe, but you don't want to prolong it too much. But definitely having one timeout that you can use, and you say a shank or a hit tree or whatever. I think you should be able to use it whenever you need it.
Yeah, like let's say you slipped and fell or something, and you didn't hurt yourself in that, but that's going to throw you off, or the strap on your bag breaks. Like there's so many things that can happen in the course of a round that may just throw you off your game. Now, one thing people could say is that, no, deal with it. If you can't deal with it, that's your problem. But I don't know, maybe it's the nice guy in me, maybe it's the Canadian side of me. It's like, I always want to play somebody at my best and their best and see what happens. If there's a bad tree kick or something like that, that's part of the game. But I don't want it to be that you mentally exploded. I don't find satisfaction. Like even when you and I play, we are pretty good that way. But you see me take 6 shots on Wally's way. That's okay. But if I take 6 shots on the next hole and 6 shots on the next hole, I think that win doesn't feel as meaningful to you because that's you beat me, but I beat me. You didn't beat me. And
a great example of this was when I was caddying for you in the Edmonton Open, not last year, but the year before.
Mm-hmm.
On hole 11, you shanked a shot right into OB.
First available.
Oh, was it first available?
The first shot.
You went back to your bag, you grabbed another disc, and as amateurs, if you're playing on a card with people maybe you don't know, or that people are beating you, and you step up and you have a bad shot, the first thing you do is you're like, oh, where do I look? Okay, I'm kind of embarrassed. Okay, I just want to get out of here.
Yeah, just throw another shot.
Yeah, just throw another shot quick. So you went back to your bag, you grabbed another disc, you threw it again, and whether you hit the OB or hit the first available, or you went OB on the second shot.
OB on the next one, yeah.
I think you went OB on the next one, and then you were like, oh, come on, Jeremy, what am I doing? You went back to your bag, and one of your card mates,
James Morton,
yeah. James Morton, kind of, messaged or kind of reached out to you and was like, hey, take a second. Yeah. Like, he even told you to calm down. Like, don't rush it. There's no reason for you to rush.
Yeah, you think that's something that your caddy would do, but I will say that we had just met, so I don't know if you knew how to manage my emotions at that time. But no, that was the thing about James Morton, and that's what I do think about it with the card was, help the other players on it so that you're all playing your best game that you can.
And there comes a difference between we were MA40 and... I think that was your second or third round. And
it was probably third card or something too. Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
There comes to a level of where it doesn't matter. It's not going to make any difference whether you're going, you're not playing for that title. So, but
what do you do?
Treat everyone the way that you want to be treated.
Okay, now we want this. Let's get a little bit of a group talk about this. You got to have mental strength on the course, and we've all been in that place. You can mention it as you did with my 9 on that par 3 or 4, what that was, and that was in my head. And hopefully you shake it off for the next hole. It's like a batter up at bat. There's always another pitch, or if you are a ball golfer, it's always think about the next shot. Don't worry about the last shot.
Yeah.
what do you do to develop that mental strength? What do you think is the right keys for disc golf? Like, how do you get yourself into that same type of pressure situation? Because I'm going to go back really quick with this. Rundle Park, River City Cup last year, I go out ahead of time at Hermitage. I play 6 holes. I am on fire. I'm warming up. I'm lacing shots. I lace 18. I have a great shot on 4. I just played a handful of holes. You and I start. Then I hit first available. Then I start to go downhill right away. Like, how do you replicate that? Because what was different? The only thing that was different is now in my head, it mattered because the tournament had started. But beforehand, I threw all those shots. I can throw all those shots.
Yeah.
So what do you do? How do you get that strength? What do you think?
That's definitely a good question to ask the chat. What do you do if you have a bad hole, you throw a bad shot? How do you bounce back from it?
Do you have anything you do?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to reach down and grab the Velcro patch I have on the front of my disc golf cart.
Oh, yeah.
I don't always look at it. I put this on my cart as kind of a note to myself, so that whenever I have a bag, it was on my bag and now I've put it on the cart. Whenever I walk back to my bag, that's kind of what I try and say to myself. Doesn't always work. I don't always look at it.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation you were talking about, that's probably why I don't do a lot of warm-up, because I get into that state where you think, oh, I'm all loose. I got this. I'm feeling good. When the tournament starts, it's a whole different question.
Yeah. Well, they talk about breathing exercises, that type of thing. Sometimes, too, it's like having a mantra or something, not just the disc, which is an amazing disc, by the way, but having a mantra that you say to yourself. And I think maybe we'll try this. One of the things I'm thinking is that when we go out on the course and you do something successful, it's almost like what it is a Pavlov's dog type technique, right? I'm not saying ring a bell, but when you do something successful, take a moment, close your eyes, say something in your mind. I know it sounds a little bit, now I'm kind of getting a little out there, but say something, whatever that is. If it's the statement you had or something else, and do that consistently in your practice, so that then when you step on the tee, you close your eyes before you take your shot. You say that same thing in your mind. Now you have that same feeling, that same sense of relaxation as I'm closing my eyes here. And you go ahead and you throw, and hopefully everything works out. Man, am I getting too deep?
No, I think everything that we're saying, and Dina in the chat here, her answer, she's still working on it.
Fair enough.
And I think it's a work in progress for everybody. Sam, he tries and slows down and simplifies. Usually I'm working too fast and trying too hard, just knock that off and things get less squirrely. Oh. And I think it's one of those things that it's easy to say. It's okay for us now to say, okay, if you throw a bad shot, just don't worry about it. Just forget it. Let's let that shot go. Just think about the rest. You've got 40, 50 more shots to play. Let's just concentrate on those shots. Don't worry. That hole is behind you now. It's easy to say all these things.
Yeah.
But when you're on the course, it's harder to let go.
Right.
Dylan says that everybody throws bad shots. Well,
that could be that saying that you say to yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone throws bad shots. And then try to let that wash over you.
Yeah.
Right. So
in our New Year's episode, Jeremy stated some of his New Year's goals and mentioned that I don't have any goals. But I did say that one of the things that I want to do for 2025 is just to enjoy playing.
Yes.
And I think I'm going to try at least for one tournament and see how it works and see whether, and I'm not going to go by the score. I'm just going to see how well I played. Excuse me, is I'm going to try and not think, oh, okay, if I play good, maybe I'll get onto lead card. Maybe I can win this event. Maybe I can do this. I'm just going to go out there and think, okay, I'm just going to play like a regular round of golf. I'm just going to relax. I'm not shooting. I'm not going to try and park every hole. I'm just going to try and play for par, play for layups, play the percentage shots, do all the right things that we should do. But in a tournament, you always try and go for those extra ones.
Right.
If you're in that iffy range of a putt, most times people will try and go for that putt because they think I can make a shot on the card here. And then what happens when you miss your shot? It hits the basket, it rolls away into a bush, it rolls down a hill. Now you're laying up, and then you're taking that dreaded birdogey, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and play smarter and try and play more relaxed. And I think if you get into that relaxed state, because what happens when you go out and play a practice round or whenever we go out,
There's no pressure.
and you throw those bad holes, what happens on the next hole?
Usually I move on, don't I? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. For the
Yeah.
most part, I think we all just move on because we know that there's nothing riding on it.
Exactly. So kind of bring that same nothing's riding on this attitude into the tournament.
That's what I'm going to think. Yeah.
All right. Now my last comment on this, and I think we're both on the same page. So mental strength in disc golf. Should you have when you and I go out and we're trying to work on mental strength, would it work if we played mind games with each other? Is that a way we should do it? Should I try to get in your head, or is that just going to break this friendship and podcast over? But both sides, do you think that's a way to gain mental strength, is to have somebody maybe making noise behind you? Like I've heard that with Tiger Woods, right? Like he was supposed to be concentrating and learning how to play golf growing up, and his dad would make noises and do things to try to distract him.
It's funny you say that because I'm going to throw it back to Scott Stokely's book again. He mentions that in the early days, people were talking, people were walking around, people were doing, and I don't know whether that was an intentional mind game to put people off, or that's just how disc golf was played back then. But you had to deal with people talking, moving, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think this is the most I've seen you agree with each other on an episode, says Dylan.
That's exactly the opposite of what we were hoping to do.
Yeah.
That's what we were hoping Ryan would help us with that, eh?
Yeah. What was your question?
If I could play mind games
mind
with
games. No, I mean, people in the chat can let us know as well. Have you ever had somebody, maybe cough when you're taking your putt? Maybe they said it wasn't, an accidental cough, or it wasn't on purpose and it was just a regular cough. Do people move around? Have you ever had people intentionally try and put you off your game?
They've been fine with your throws the whole game, and then now that the scores are getting close, they're saying, "Oh, I would have called you on a foot fault on that one there, Daryl, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention where it hadn't been a problem the entire game." Because I don't think that should be part of the game.
No, never.
Okay, why are we agreeing? I thought you were going to be all over it.
No, I don't think. I mean, an unintentional cough when somebody, you can do your best to try and suppress a cough. And the more you hold it, the longer the person is waiting to take their throw. And all you're thinking is, just hurry up and move so I can cough. And then you can't hold it any longer just as they're about to throw. Then you cough and you let out that small little cough. Things like that are going to happen.
Yeah.
But intentionally standing behind the basket when you're about to putt so that they're in your eye line, or maybe not directly in front of the behind the basket, maybe off to the side just a little, maybe they're moving. I think everybody thinks that you should play the game fair. Keep still when people are putting. Don't be talking.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we could all agree on that one. It's just that sometimes you see that
from our point of view. I mean,
at a pro level,
and even up in MA1, FA1, FPO. Do you see? Is there?
Dylan's got to have seen it, because I was going to say, I'm thinking even maybe Sam, maybe Dina, but like Dylan's played on some of those MPO cards. We got a pretty good group of MPO players in the Edmonton area. Dylan will never be that person. Dylan is always going to be encouraging. He's always going to be helping out another player. But
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, have you guys experienced, and did Sam maybe when he went down to NADGT, or Dina for that matter, because I believe she went down too.
Yeah.
When you got down there, you're getting a whole bunch of different players, and you're getting some Americans, and nothing against them, but sometimes some Americans are not as kind as Canadians are. Hot take, I guess, but I think it's what it is. So did you happen to run into somebody like that?
Jeremy's views are his own and are not and not necessarily the views of Chain Out Podcast.
Yeah, there you go. As hot of a take as we get is say
exactly.
something that's
as risky
commonly
as
said.
Well, no, I've never experienced it, but when we only play in MA40, and it's a very, it's a...
We've experienced serious people, but serious people is okay.
Yeah.
I've experienced that. Like, you've actually been on lead card before as well, so, and even won a tournament, so you know how serious it really gets.
Yeah,
but,
I did. I had to...
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Sam said he's never run into someone doing that, and I've never been competing for a win, though. So...
I guess, maybe when it gets up there. But he's aware that it's out there.
Yeah.
Well...
It's not a nice thing.
I guess that kind of wraps up some of the stuff we wanted to talk about. I had set up a game.
Well, let's do Disco instead, and then we'll finish it there.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah. We can save
Yeah, we'll save the Family Feud for another day.
You had to mention it, Jeremy.
Well, we talked about it, didn't we? Earlier? Maybe we did. All right. But we all did this. We all did it today. We got to go to Family Feud.
I didn't do it today. Why did you do it today?
I think we did, didn't we? I think Sam, I did. Did I throw mine in?
People shouldn't be doing it.
All right. Well, maybe they didn't do it and I did mine, but let me take a look.
Why are you doing it? Okay, so for the chat, Dylan said, honestly, I saw more awkward interactions in MA2 than MPO I played last year.
Really?
Dylan forgot and he's already done it.
Yeah, so did I. So we can't do that.
Well, I can do it.
Yeah, you could do it.
Okay, but it won't be very good for the chat.
It's not good for the chat.
Well, I don't think we should.
Can we play Family Feud? Do you guys want to play Family Feud with us? Do you want to try that? And it'll be you guys versus Daryl? Like it'll be the folks in the Patreon? Well, let's just give it a second and see.
Okay, we can do it.
Because I think we can show it and we can
Sam
do it.
did it last night as well. So everybody did it apart from me.
I totally forgot. I was like, I hadn't been doing Discdal often enough and posting it in the Patreon. I didn't feel like I was.
I noticed.
Yes, so I was like, I got to be better about that. So I'm like, I'm going to buckle down here and make sure I do it. So I did it today, not even thinking.
You've been trying to cheat as well.
Yeah, well, I haven't been trying to cheat. I've been asking questions about how to get better. And I'll tell you.
And going to BR Disc Golf website and looking up flight numbers or...
Well, Dylan's new app there. Dylan, I was exploring that. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, we got some people who are in for Family Feud.
2 people are in.
So you guys
Tina's
know...
in as well.
All right, you know what Family Feud is like. So what I had done, and this is a little bit more geared, so what you have to do on your side as the guests is do me a favor, which you're all honest, I know that, is don't look it up. Just like I was trying to do on my Discdal.
Yeah,
so don't look it up. You're going to have to do this from memory. But in the style of Family Feud, I have created, and maybe Dylan will be impressed, using Google Sheets of all things. It wasn't Excel. It was Google Sheets. I've created a Family Feud style game. So let's put it up there on the screen, and we can still talk. They can hear us, right?
What isn't it? Do 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 do.
No, it's like
is that
do,
different?
do, do. No, I don't know. But this is our Family Feud Around the Basket Disc Golf Edition.
All right.
So here's you got to hit the reset button on the bottom. But this is to give a sample of this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can't go for number 1.
No, you can't. So what it is that I put up here who were the top 7 MPO finishers at the 2024 LTL, and I was going to have Daryl versus Ryan. One of them was going to buzz in and say who was going to go first, and they were going to give us an option, and we were going to see in Family Feud style how much of the after that first guess where their guess was.
But if the chat has watched the LTL coverage on Park Pro,
they might know
they're still in with a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is, do we want to give it to the chat first?
We can give it to the chat first.
All right. So aside from Eden, tell us.
Did you do your thing?
Did I do what thing?
You said you were going to look at the answers.
Oh, I've got them here. Yeah, I got them here. Yeah.
Okay. So starting with the chat.
Give us a guess for the Family Feud of who's in the top 7 there, and you want to be as high as you can. And I guess you can guess Eden if that's the case. Let's just work this one through just to give it.
All right.
So let's say the chat's guessed Eden. So pop Eden in there.
Well, they haven't said it yet.
Oh, they haven't said it yet. Okay.
Come on, chat. Put your guesses. Top 7 MPO finishers at the 2024 Larger Than Life event. And I don't know the answers, but I know in my mind. Like I'm not privy to the answers or anything like that.
And as the host, if you guys are all listening, what we'll do is let's just see somebody give us the first guess for the guests. Throw that in there, and we'll watch for that one to come in. Mm-hmm. And there we go. Okay. Luke Levesque. So put Luke Levesque. Can you highlight number 2 for me, Daryl? Number 2. So what would happen normally in a Family Feud style game is if this was the case and we didn't already know who the first player was, you would have the opportunity to try and steal.
Right. Can I
guess
do that?
The first. Okay, for this example, we will. All right.
It's up to you.
So you can steal. So can you steal? Can you get the number 1 guess, Daryl?
Well,
this is just for sample, guys.
Seeing as we've spoken already about it, I'm going to say Eden Badajoz.
Okay. So boom. Now you get number 1. Now, normally in Family Feud, you'd get 3 X's, but to keep this game moving, I'm only giving you 1 X. So now that you've took it over, you need to run the board.
Right.
So give me another guess.
Alan Hill.
Okay. Light up number 4.
Oh,
number 4, Alan Hill.
I am going to say Benjamin Monkman.
Benjamin Monkman.
Really? He wasn't number 4?
I
thought he was like...
This is the top 7.
Oh.
You get an X. So do we have a guess?
So I'm going to go back in the chat and scroll up to the next guess after. So Sam said Luke Levesque. Dylan said Eden.
Yeah.
Dylan said Casey.
Casey. That's it as well.
And then also Dylan said Noah.
Another for LTL.
And then Sam said Jai.
All right, well, let's give him Jai. So let's pretend they had 3 X's. Light up number 3.
Oh, he finished third?
Yep. So Jai finished third.
Oh, sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong screen.
Yeah. And really, what we would have done, and we'll do this with the next one because nobody's going to know what it is.
Right.
And then after that, we can just reveal the rest. So
okay, so then after Jai, Dina said Luke. He's already been said.
Yep.
And then they've had no more guesses after that.
Okay, so head on down to number 5.
Well, can I make a guess?
Sure.
If it's not Benjamin Monkman, Alan... Oh, who was... Ryan Watson.
Ryan Watson, light up number 5, Daryl.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen again.
Yeah, you gotta look down there at the screen.
Dylan, that's probably a good idea leaving it to Sam.
Yeah. And then when we get to
Ryan
the
Watson.
end there, we got...
Hang on. Can you think of any more, Sam? Because I'm struggling at the moment.
Without looking?
Ryan, it's not Benjamin Monkman, not Jai, Alan, Luke. I'm going to go with... Oh, Jeremy. Jeremy... No, I think he came... Okay, I'm going to go Jeremy.
Jeremy what?
Jeremy...
We'll give it to you. Jeremy Reed, light up number 7.
Okay, Jeremy Reed was number 7. I remember it because you picked him and he was your namesake. Sam said, I was going to say Ryan. I'm not sure about the rest of them really. So I got Jeremy Reed. And then I'm going to finish it off with someone quickly. Not Benjamin Monkman. Alan Hill's already gone. Nope, I can't think of any more.
Caden Smith is the final one, so you can reveal that.
Sorry,
so that's how the game's going to work. So what we're going to do with this one now is we're going to go to the next question. Daryl gets a chance to think. We're going to give the guests the first guess.
Get your...
And we're going to give you 3 X's for this. So don't go Googling or anything like that. So the question is, who are the top 7 Canadian MPOs by PDGA rating right now? Guests, what's your guess?
You can be back involved in this one, Dylan.
Yep, definitely.
And Dina, for sure.
So let's see what name they come up with. Daryl, are you thinking of the names that it could be? I've got the top 7 here.
You have the top 7 names. I've got some names I'm thinking of.
Yeah. And I think the guests are going to have some names.
I think I've probably got the top 3 or 4.
Do you?
I would hope so.
You think so? Well, we're going to find out because you're going to get a chance to steal as long as they don't get the top one. All right. So we're going with the first one. So Sam, you have Martin Hendel as your guest. And Daryl, you can light up number 1.
Yeah.
So with that means Daryl doesn't get a chance to steal. I'm giving the guests 3 X's. Their second guest is Thomas Gilbert.
Yes.
Second guess is, Thomas Gilbert, light up number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Yeah. And that's at 10:15 rated.
Ooh.
Their next guest is Casey, light up number 2 at 10:16 rated.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So you're on a roll here. You got the top 3.
Top 3. That's the top 3 that I would have picked.
So now, who do you guys have? Who do our folks have in
4,
there?
5, 6, and 7.
That's right. We need another guess, and you're going to get a couple extras. So we're going to watch for those comments. How do you like this? Is this fun?
It's good. Yeah. I think there might just be a little bit of a delay with the chat, but as long as we can fill in the gaps and wait for the answers to come through.
I think so. I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Yeah. And we can do it with a lot of different questions. I want to start with something fairly simple that we could kind of work with, and then maybe later on.
It would have been good doing it with Ryan, because obviously Ryan would have been able to name the top 10.
I'd be interested. Would he be able to name the top 10?
I think he probably would have.
Yeah, he knows a lot of those players.
Still waiting for a guess from the chat.
Yeah, come on, guys. You can come up with it. Who's another Canadian MPO who would be up there? Oh, we got an OGs. That's not going to be one. Oh, I think Sam's struggling here. Well, here's a...
and this is a perfect example of why people should watch. Oh, Max Rajitnik.
All right, Max Rajitnik. Can you light up number 4, please?
Wow.
The worst as well is that I want to give people hints.
Well, don't.
I know. I can't give people hints.
I know you do, because you want the game to carry on. But Great guessing, Sam.
Yeah.
Great knowledge, Sam.
Yes. So now we're down. You guys...
10-13.
The chat has the top 4 guesses.
Yeah, they do. They're
Marty
really
Hendel,
good.
Casey Hendel. And look at those ratings, too. 10-17, 10-16, 10-15, 10-13. Kim Scott.
Ooh.
Dylan, such a good guess, and I bet you're right. Definitely 1,000 rated player, but not someone who is considered an MPO player.
What you need also is a button that lights up red.
Yeah, I'll need to put an X button.
Put an X
I'll
button.
do
So
that.
that's your first X.
That's your first X team guest. So we need 2 more guesses from you. Come on, Sam, dig deep. Come on, Dylan.
All I need to do is get one guess,
and then you'll do it. Yeah, that's how the steal works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then for fun, if you think you can run the table on the rest, you can. But you got to do it quick. I'm not going to give you time to dilly dally over there. That's for sure. So Kim Scott Wood, not a PO player. That was at least not on PDGA.
7. And why 7? Why'd you go top 7, not top 10?
Because that was the way my chart is. It just fit that way.
Okay.
All right.
This is a good.
Luke. All right. So we're gonna. What
Okay.
Luke does he have? X.
Oh,
and
another X.
And don't feel bad about it, Dylan. I just prefer a guess. Even if it's a wrong guess, I prefer the guess than the dead air time.
Exactly.
That's the way I work. So we need one more guess.
I was going to say, this is a perfect example of why people should watch our fantasy podcast. Because we talk about the people and their ratings and we get these names out there.
And just looking at the list, I'd say just watch some of the episodes and people we've interviewed. Maybe that would help too. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? Dylan has no reason to be sorry. That's for sure. All we need is one more guess.
Sam and Dina, we're looking at you to save it for the team.
All right, Riley. Oh, well, Riley's my sleeper pick, and I think that just gets the thumbs up award for guessing it. But
Riley?
He's not on the list.
Oh, I was going to say.
That's the third X.
Third X for Riley.
But great guess, Dylan, of course. Let's give Riley some love. So, for the steal, Daryl.
For the steal.
Can you guess place 5, 6, or 7?
Well, I would have to go. I'm going to go for. Okay, what we said? What we said? Okay. We decided we're going to go with Miguel Alvarado.
Really? The steal is gone. So if we are going to go through there, these are all people who have been on the podcast.
1 second.
And
hang on. 1 second.
You're working on it? Okay.
So in at number 5.
Number 5, we have the person here's Chris Oslins. Gotcha. Yeah. So we have Chris Oslins. Before we reveal number 6.
Yep.
To give you the hint, and everyone's going to be able to guess, this person was on the podcast early on. We had a good time out of Ontario, was struggling to get over 1,000.
No.
Couldn't get there, was struggling at 999.
Yeah.
But
really?
Take a look. And number 6 is Cam Zanini at 1,004 rated.
He's at 1,004 now. Good for you, Cam.
100%. And then the last one, this person is pretty much world famous from the Whiff Diff Championships. Almost got the putt that would have secured us into the finals.
Was it the name on the shirt or the name on the...
The name of the person, one and only Stuart McKissick.
Wow.
At 1,001 rated. Now,
that's interesting that the top 7 only make it down to 1,001. So Cam being 999 was just like maybe in the top 10?
Yeah. And what it is, as you said, why did I put 7? That's just what I had fitting there.
Right.
There's one more person, and that was in my bonus questions if we got to it, who was actually 1,000 rated. And that was, I think it's Jaden Smith, maybe? But Jay Smith is who it is. So someone I didn't know. All right, so want to do this one more time?
So the guests have won.
Guests won that one, and we're going to do one more really quick, guys. We appreciate you with this.
Oh, top 7 FPOs.
Top 7 FPO. Daryl gets to start.
I get to start. So I'm going to say...
Who do you guess?
Chantel Bedinsky.
Chantel Bedinsky, can you please light up number 2, Daryl?
Number 2?
So that gives the chat a chance to steal and try to run the board.
Man.
So chat, Daryl has gotten himself on the board with Chantel Bedinsky at 940, second highest rated F player in Canada at this moment. Now, what do we think?
Now I'm thinking of other... Yeah. Trying to think who else... Oh!
I could almost tell the chat who it is because I know one of the 3 there, Dina, Dylan, or Sam, is going to punch it in right away.
Yeah, why? I cannot believe I didn't say this person first.
Yeah, come on, get the steal. We know you can do it. We know you can do it.
We're taking the first answer, right?
The first answer. First answer. Who is it? Go scroll up a bit.
Yes. Well,
Let's make sure.
I mean, I don't know if we go by Dylan. Someone called Danica.
Hey, I know who they're asking. They're asking for Sophia Donica. Can you please light up number 1 on the board, Daryl?
How could I not say Sophia?
And you need to show it on the screen.
Yeah.
There she is at 9:44. So, guest, you do have the board. Welcome to the Family Feud. And yeah, don't worry about the spelling. No worry. I think what were we calling her at the start before we knew was Danecki?
Danecki, yeah.
Yeah, so it happens there. So, yeah.
That's okay, Sam, or Dylan. I was only joking.
We definitely take that. Now.
You got the board. You've got the top 2. You've got Sophia. You've got Chantel. Who's in 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7?
This is a tip that goes to both the guests. I know you guys have the board right now, but it also goes to Daryl.
You're giving clues?
I'm giving clues. 2 of the players on the list have actually been on the show. So that might make it harder. Yeah, only 2.
Oh.
So that's the first clue I'm going to give you. But guests, throw out your guess for the next 3 through 7. And what do we see? I would say, and this is good. This is like a learning for our Patreon group too, right? Like sometimes they say, oh yeah, they talked to that person. I kind of saw that interview.
Yeah.
But when it's on the line and you're part of a competition,
people didn't realize that joining our Patreon would come with homework.
That's right. Hey,
Rebecca
Dawn, can you light up number 6, please, Daryl?
Number 6.
So there's Rebecca Dawn, and that's, if you remember right, she had hit 900 rated, and that was a pretty big deal. And then probably with her big win at the RIP, she hit 910.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
so
still with the chat.
Still with the chat. You still get to keep going. So let's another guest that comes in there. Again, that was one, of course, of the guests that's been on the show.
Yeah.
The other one, come on.
Shush.
You're telling me I'm trying to tilt it in the guest's favor? I mean, in the chat's favor.
It's funny because I kind of do the same as well. I'm like, I do a quiz or I do something, and then I'm like trying to give people the answers because I just want the quiz to be done. And we're like, did you like it? Well, I don't know. You just gave us all the answers.
I didn't give any answers. I gave hints. You still have to know the answer.
Yeah, but you're taking away the enjoyment of the guests getting it right on their own.
Okay. Gabby Lee. It is a good guess. But we're going to have a first X.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so give me 2 more names. 2 more names, team guest.
Well,
they
need 4 more names.
No, but they need 2 more to keep going. Because if they're X's, they're done. So
they need four names to win.
Yeah, 4 more to win, but they need at least 2 names for us to evaluate.
Strike them out,
Yeah.
Bailey Inglis, I'm guessing that is...
I would say Bailey Wilson or Bailey Inglis.
Whoa. Let's get some clarification.
It doesn't matter. There is not a Bailey in the top 7. So we've got
two strikes.
2 strikes. You got 1 more to go.
I'm feeling a bit... Oh, Joe Henderson from Sam.
Joe Henderson. 1, 2, 3, 4.
He's counting. Oh, must be just outside the
Those
top
were
7.
great guesses, though, and I'm glad that you shouted them out.
3 in a row. Gabby Lee, Dylan, Bailey, and Joe Henderson.
So
for the win, for the steal.
For the steal and the win of the second one.
I am going to go with long-time listener, long-time friend of the show, Colleen McInnes.
Can you please light up 3 for the win for Daryl?
But I get to... So it was 1-1.
The
chat won the first.
So look at that. I make a game where everybody ties and everybody's happy when we're done.
Okay, let me go for another one. I'm going to say, let's go Julie Mowens.
Oh, it's but I'm going to give you a hint.
Okay, I'm going to say, no, did I say Julie Mowens?
No, you did.
No, what I meant was,
yeah, there you go. Perfect radio time here.
Why can I not think of any other Moen sister? It's another Moen, isn't it?
It is. If you want to light up number 4.
Jordan? No, is it Jordan?
No, Jordan is one. Jordan Bernalo. But it's actually... you lit up Irina.
You said number 4.
Oh, yeah, that was my fault. Irina Shakova. So we've heard of Irina Shakova because she plays out of Ontario.
GCO,
She was at last year's Nationals
Foxwood.
in Thunder Bay as well.
Foxwood Open,
Yeah.
I think she was at, yeah.
So sorry, number 5 is Rachel Mowens.
Rachel Mowens.
Yep.
And then rounding out the top 10.
Or
Come on,
top 7.
chat. Top 7. Any more guesses, chat?
I'm giving you all a hint. Go with Ontario. But again, it's going to be a name that we've talked about on the podcast, not interviewed, but it's been a while. And it was a person who's actually flipped from AMs to pros not that long ago.
Do you want to give us a first letter?
It starts with an A.
Oh, Amber, Alicia Hums.
No, that's an A. Last name starts with a P.
So AP.
AP are the initials.
Alexandra Paletto.
Alexandra Paletto, that's number 7. So there you go. Thank you for being on Around the Basket Family Feud. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What do you think, Daryl?
Copyright strike. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think we needed some work on it, and we need to get it a little bit faster.
Okay.
Maybe we can do something with the chat to get.
Maybe what we do is, could we, let's say we didn't have a guest, could we bring a chat person right on?
That's what I like.
And be live.
Yes.
So bring them in for that last
We will
part.
do that next time.
But then Dylan
time
or Sam or whoever it is, you're going to be on the spot because you're actually going to be on the screen.
Yeah. If you're interested in that, let us know. I'll put a link in the chat. You can click on the link. You can join. Doesn't matter if you're on your phone, if you're laying down in bed, if you're dying discs in your basement.
Just make sure it's appropriate for TV. That's all.
Yeah, shoulders up only. We'll bring you on, but normally we would be doing that with a guest anyway. But if it does work out that we don't have a guest and you guys like it,
we'll bring you on for the chat.
Bring you on for the chat.
All right, Dylan's down for that. So that would be the thing as we come up with these games and these ideas and stuff. If you guys like them, we'll keep them going. If we get the feedback from you, you're like, yeah, guys,
it's a bit long in the tooth.
You missed on that one. So we'll go from there. But Daryl, we should wrap it up maybe, do you think?
Well, we should definitely wrap it up. I think people are... I think we covered a lot. We covered the how to make courses harder.
Yes.
How to make them more difficult, but easier for us, but more difficult for the pros.
Yes.
The mental side of the game. And this
Which is important.
And basically, it was kind of obvious. We were meant to have Ryan on the podcast from LTL. We wanted to talk to him about last year's. The coverage just came out. It all stemmed from the unfortunate events of Luke losing the lead on hole 17 and it all transpired from there.
And also too, just watching how difficult some of those holes were, and is that really what it should be? And I don't think they were super overly, for you and I don't even know what we would have scored. I remember listening to Matt talk about some of in the commentary that he played some of them, maybe +1 on one hole. But I remember Matt saying there was just some of those holes he threw multiple times and they just beat him up. Like he was glad that he wasn't playing with the MPOs.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's the end of this episode.
Oh, that's the way we end this episode. And thanks a lot for joining us on this one. We really appreciate it. We can't wait to see you next time. And until then, we're going to choke out. No, not choke out. What are we going to do, Daryl?
Sorry.
We're going to chain out.
Chain out. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being a Patreon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everything else.